Hi, everyone. Please let me know if you can hear and see, and if everything is okay, we are going to start. Just write a plus button or okay in our YouTube channel so we can see it. It's clear, plus, okay. So let's start. Well, my name is David and I'm from Checkaso, and today we have a special guest from Mail.ru Group. It's Julia, head of ASO. Hi, Julia.
Hi.
And Anna, she's ASO manager in Mail.ru Group too. Hi, Anna. So let's start, and I will share my screen. Just a few seconds. So, well, today's topic is ASO for games and apps, and what's the differences. And we have a plan for today. And first of all, we are going to talk about state of mobile app market, share some new information, new information about downloads, about revenue, maybe. So the next thing we're going to talk about is main traffic sources for organic and their features. Also, we will talk about various approaches in ASO, key KPIs and metrics you should track, and we will show the real cases and examples of our apps. So let's move on. And let's start with some up-to-date statistics. So when the App Store launched back in 2008, there were only 500 apps. So that was the start of huge success of mobile apps and games. And now, according to data for 2020, there are already 1,850,000 apps in Google Play and more than 2.5 million on Google Play. So these are huge numbers showing how competitive the market is today, because mobile apps play a huge role in our everyday lives, solving many different problems, making our lives brighter and more interesting. So as a result, this market has become a multi-billion-dollar business. And now there are even more active devices than people in the world. It's almost 8 billion. So on average, 76% of adult population interact with smartphones every single day. And for example, in South Korea, this figure reaches 95%. So let's move to the next slide. And according to Sensor Tower data, there were 52 billion app installs in the second quarter of 2020 on Google Play and 80 billion in the App Store. And on average, the number of app installs is 30% higher than games. But at the same time, the game category remains the most popular in both stores, with growth over the past year by 20% in App Store and half times in Google Play. On this screen, you can see now the top 10 most popular categories by the share of apps and the number of apps today. So in general, we see that the category leaders overlap all in both stores. We see the games on the first position in Google Play and App Store, and also education and business categories at the top. Let's take a look at some interesting features in the approach to metadata in games and apps. So for the analysis, we took several thousand apps and games, popular apps and games from different categories in the United States. And we found out that on average, games use 42% more screenshots than apps. When it comes to video, games stand out here too. So 32% of games use video preview on the App Store, and only 11% of apps. So in Google Play is 34% of games and quarter of apps. So as you can see, in ASO, for games, people more often use video preview on the app page. So this is due to the fact that there is a more pronounced need to show the gameplay, the interface of the games, and since it's often not always possible and easy to understand the idea of the game just by the title or screenshots. And also games have on average 50% better indexing. Well, that means that more indexed keywords, search queries, a bigger semantic core than the apps. And this fact may suggest that there are more keywords in this category at a whole. And this is true, but as a rule, these words are quite general and mostly branded with different variation and suggestions. So most of them are unlikely to be able to rank in top. So also apps use more exact keywords in their metadata, trying to target, first of all, search traffic and the most relevant keywords, and use roughly 40% more characters than in their title than games. So now let's move to the next slide, and I'll give the floor to Anna, and she will tell more about organic traffic sources and their differences between apps and games. So you're welcome.
Thank you, David. And now we will talk about the main traffic sources for apps and games. We have checked about 25 most popular apps and games at Mail.ru Group, and here you can see this data. Let's start with Google Play, and here we can see that the main traffic source for games is Explore. It is about 73% in comparison with 27% of search. And for apps, the main traffic source is search. It is about 66% in comparison with 34% of Explore. And let's have a look at the App Store. And in this slide, we can see that for both apps and games, the main traffic source is search. It is about 95% for apps and 66% for games. And this way, we came to the conclusion that if it is an ASO for games on Google Play, we should focus on Explore traffic. But if it is an ASO for games on App Store, our priority is search. And according to the App Store, here we can see that for both apps and games, our focus, our priority is search traffic. So let's start with the games and talk about the ASO for Explore traffic on Google Play. And there are three areas where your game can appear: featured, top charts, and similar apps. So let's find out what we need to work on to become the main source of Explore traffic. First of all, your games can appear in featured sections. We can see it at the next slide. Thank you. And who never wished it game was featured on Google Play? And as we know, being featured is a great achievement that can bring you thousands of downloads, especially if your game is new, but it's not so easy. So first of all, you should pay attention to quality of your game, provide users with great user experience, and your game shouldn't suffer from any kind of bugs. And work hard on visual assets, provide users with as much information as possible. And remember that the most important is our first screenshot. There you can show your core features. And additionally, you can work on your app preview video, highlighting the most interesting parts of your gameplay. And also, seasonal ASO can help you to be displayed in some special featured sections. For example, best games for Halloween, best games for Christmas, and so on. The pro tip is to localize your game and make it available in as much countries as possible, because it can give you a chance of global featuring. Take care about ratings and reviews. It is also important, and it is the best way to show platforms if users really like your game. So provide users with great user experience and try to fix any kind of bugs as soon as possible to keep them satisfied. And the last tip is to keep platform regulations and recommendations in mind. So follow all the launch checklists and adapt your game to all Android devices and adapt it for all Android versions. The next section where your game can appear is top charts. For doing this, you should choose the most relevant and less competitive category. Your category should be relevant, but not so competitive. It is very important because the right category is the one where you can beat your competitors. Anyway, you can always change your category on Google Play Developer Console. You can choose the one, then collect your download data, and then make the right decision. As for feature, there is no some magic formula to be displayed in top charts, but we can say that games are also selected by the visual assets, retention rates, ratings and reviews, and download volume data. I think that the fifth tip is maybe the most important to be displayed in top charts. And the last section where you can appear is similar apps. Thank you. First of all, to appear in similar apps, use API Google Natural Language to know how Google categorizes your game. API-GNL is a tool which can help us through our full description interpretation to understand how Google categorizes our game within all Google categories. And it can help us to adapt our full description to the category in which we would like to appear. As you can guess, this category should match your competitor's category. And as we know, Google algorithm scans not only our metadata, but also our visual assets. So if you want to display in similar apps card of your competitor, try to create similar visual assets, and it can help you to increase your positions. Take care about ratings and reviews. As for top charts and features, the more the better ratings and reviews you receive, the more similar apps visibility you get. Drive your downloads volume. Usually the games which are displayed in similar apps card have the same download volume with the game in question, and improve your internal metrics. It has a big impact to similar apps visibility. And now I will pass on the word to Julia, and she will share with you our gaming case.
Thank you, Anna. Hi everyone again. Here we wanted to illustrate the case with our game Warface Global Operations, which is one of our biggest mobile games. And on the graph, you can see that our visibility before the update on the similar apps was quite sporadic. And after we worked through the full description through the Google Natural Language API to match that of our competitors, our visibility became more stable. There was first initially a slight drop, which we attribute to indexing of the full description and then just the works of the algorithm. And then later throughout the month, we've achieved a 5% growth in the explored traffic, which at first may not seem as much, but considering Warface has explored downloads in the hundreds of thousands, it's still quite a significant increase. Moving on to the next slide, we have a big section based on the KPIs that we have for games. Not only do we look at different KPIs for games and apps, but we also differentiate between the App Store and Google Play. For games, as my colleague Anna has mentioned, for Google Play, Explore traffic, part of the organic, is a bigger chunk. Therefore, we look at the conversion rate specifically of the Explore traffic. Here we monitor for any unusual spikes, whether it's a sudden decrease, a sudden increase, and then we investigate what's happening, because, for example, if you're suddenly receiving a rise in store page viewers, but you aren't converting those users, then you need to see what kind of are the viewers coming from, and whether you can do something on the app page, whether to adjust your graphics or your text metadata to convert those users. Then we also look at the conversion rate of the search traffic. Here we, despite it being a smaller proportion, but it's still not entirely insignificant. And usually it's quite more stable compared to the conversion rate of the Explore traffic. Here we just monitor the overall trends, whether if we've been working on keyword optimization, if we see any increases in visibility and rankings for genre-specific keywords, and we need to work on how to convert those users, for example, displaying the genre and the text metadata or adjusting our graphics. We then look at the total organic downloads by country. Here it's important to look at it by country, because games naturally, compared to apps, they can suddenly, for example, there was a paid acquisition campaigns, you've driven a bit of like some kind of large amounts of cheap traffic, and usually there's some kind of K factor of the organic downloads that come from the paid acquisition campaigns. And for example, overall, you see a rise, but then it's some cheap users which may not even stay in your game. So we don't really look at that. And usually during ASO optimization, we focus on the key countries that we work on, we update, and then we monitor obviously the results in those countries. We then look at the categories and similar apps visibility. We have our own ASO platform to be able to monitor that, but then there are several open publicly available tools that let you monitor your similar apps visibility. It's important if you're working through being able to be shown in more of your competitors and their similar apps, then you need to see whether your rise in Explore traffic correlates in the increase in that visibility. It's then important also to look at and monitor your ratings and reviews. Not only is a sudden, for example, if there was an update and suddenly you received a lot of negative feedback, the algorithm might decrease in organic rankings, you might be pushed out of some kind of featuring, as well as, but also recently Google has introduced the ability for users to filter out apps and search results which have a rating of below 4 or even below 4.5. So here it's important to maintain a rating of at least 4. And then we also look at the retention rate. Here it's important because, for example, we might have some kind of super successful experiment. We might have updated our keyword metadata, included some genre keywords, included like some great screenshots, but then there might be some deceiving over the user, or the user gets a wrong idea, and then the user does not actually stay in the app. Later on in the next slide, I will describe a case of misleading, a very sort of popular idea right now. But moving on to the KPIs of the App Store, here we look, first of all, we look at the search installs by country, because as we said before, search is much of a bigger channel of acquisition for games in the App Store. We'll look at the conversion rate of the search, naturally, because it is a bigger source of traffic. We don't completely ignore the browse installs, which similar to Explore traffic on Google Play, just because sometimes if there's been, for example, a featuring, and it could subsequently have led to an increase in the rankings of your keyword rankings, and then there was, for example, an increase in search. So just to have that explanation in case there's some unusual movements in the graphs. And then we also look at the ratings and reviews. Here, the algorithm, the App Store won't exactly pessimize you in the search or featuring if you have not a very good rating, but overall it's still a good thing to look out for, just because if you're a new game, you've recently just launched, or you're in the soft launch and you're just in a few countries, you're only building up your reputation, it's very important to monitor your rating. Now, moving on to the next slide, as I promised before, the infamous misleading. We're now all very too much familiar with the misleading ads that we constantly see on social media, those little games which are so addicting, and people follow the links and they end up downloading a completely different game. Obviously, one of the good companies, they actually introduce those games at least some little levels in the games, but we've followed the example and we've introduced the graphics, compare the similar graphics to the ads that we've had for the game Castle, and we've had that in the icon, as you can see. And we've had amazing results in the experiments. We have a rise in we've had a rise in conversion rates, a rise in store page views, which was incredible. We've applied it, but then we saw a sudden drop in the retention rate, because because your app page is the end, all users coming in through all marketing channels, they download your app through the app page. Therefore, when people see something on the icon, which is a puzzle, and they expect to see something like that in the game, they will not stay in the game. And whilst for paid user acquisition, the spend might actually be worth, despite some people, deleting the game after, but still it's quite an effective way of promoting your app. But in terms of introducing similar misleading in the graphic, it's not very effective. However, there is a sort of type of misleading that you can get away with. For example, if you're experimenting within the same genre, we've had an example of when one of our apps, one of our games is naturally a third-person shooter game, but we've included first-person shooter graphics on the app page. And that had amazing results in conversion rate, and there hasn't been no decrease in retention whatsoever, even though the user gets a bit of a different experience, but it's not entirely a different genre, compared to a medieval strategy battle game and compared to little easy puzzles. So now I give the word back to David, who will now speak about approaches to search.
Thank you, Julia. Well, now let's move on to the apps, and let's talk about search and paid traffic in apps and their differences. So let's start with search traffic. Well, it's not a secret for anyone that in order to maximize the attraction of search traffic channel, first of all, you need to work on text optimization, specifically with keywords, search queries. And this traffic source is the most important for apps, for most of apps. So to start, first of all, you should evaluate the current rankings by search terms, then collect semantic core, focusing on the most relevant search terms in order to maximize the outcome. But don't forget about the competitiveness of the keywords, especially if you are newbie in ASO field, because popular keywords tend to target market mastodons, and it will be very difficult for you to compare with them for the rankings, for top rankings and search traffic. So try to work with mid, low frequency keywords for which you have already good ranks. And don't forget about ASO as an iterative process. It should be iterative to achieve the desired goals, and try to test different approaches, different keywords, updating your metadata using different cases, and try to do it every 2-3 weeks if it's possible for you, for your game or app. But relevant keywords are not only about text optimization, but also about graphics and metadata. And use such terms on your screenshot, for example, in your captions. And so you can greatly increase the conversion rate, first of all. And moreover, Google Play algorithms are able to read and analyze text from screenshot captions. So you can get better indexing and better ranking by these keywords. And another great way for increasing conversion rate is What's New section, both in the App Store and Google Play, because many of us don't even know, but the number of reinstalls can reach up to 70% in some cases. So when a user who previously downloaded your app visits its page again, the first thing he sees is the What's New section. So try to make it interesting for them in each update and describe all the changes, all the improvements. So for this case, you should track all the ratings, all the reviews of your apps. So try to read them and make improvements and write about it in your What's New section with every update. And then you can push users to install your app again and give it one more chance. So now let's move to the case. The app Threads, it's a blog monetization app. And for everyone who has an Instagram account, you can post, add posts with different brands and earn money. So this case shows the iterative process of metadata optimization. And here on the graph, you can see the ranking history of the 30 keywords with the best search volume. And when we started working with them, so we made the first iteration with full description updating and short description updating at the end of the August. And then the app got indexed by 30 plus keywords. It was the first iteration. So after 2 weeks, we made the second iteration. And you can see here at 1st of September, we see the big increase with keywords ranking and keywords position. And the app got indexed in top 1 to 5 by 11 keywords. And so it gets a lot of organic traffic from search channel. And now let's move on to another case. It's the app myMail, and I'll give the word to Anna, and she will tell more about the correlation between keywords and screenshots.
Thank you. And in terms of myMail, it's our email app example. We can see that placing popular search terms such as Hotmail and Google in our first screenshot increase our Gmail conversion rate by 20% a month and our Hotmail conversion rate by 10% a month. It happened because the users could see their popular search terms such as Gmail and Hotmail in our first screenshot, and they could understand that myMail really had these inboxes and they can use this app for all their emails. So in this case can show us that it is really important to highlight your popular search terms in visual assets because it can help your users to understand that your app really have this feature and can increase your conversion rate and also bring new organic downloads. And now Julia will tell us about ASO for paid traffic.
So not all apps are focused on niches that are search heavy. For example, if there's a new service that you're trying to promote, then naturally you have to have more paid traffic, and there's a specific type of ASO you can do to promote and increase conversion rate of that kind of paid traffic. So first, sort of rule to make sure you follow is to display the similar value propositions that you have in your paid campaigns on your app page, so that user isn't confused, for example, that you have paid campaigns, you have banners, which are about one feature, and then on the app page, you focus on something entirely different, especially if you're talking about what kind of value your app brings, what it is for. It's better at first, at least the bigger campaigns you have, than to follow similar messaging on your app page. Then it is important to maintain the similar kind of language that you address your user in your paid campaigns and in your app page. If you promise some sort of offer in your paid campaigns and then there's an entirely different offer in your app page, for example, you forgot to update it, it doesn't have to be, you didn't have to try to make it different, you just accidentally forgot to update it, then it's important to make sure that your promotions, your discounts, they're similar, they're identical between the paid campaigns in your app page. Then also an important point to make sure to keep in mind is that if you're running Apple search ads, then the platform assigns to your app whether you're relevant for a certain keyword or not. The way it does it is that it monitors all the text metadata that you have in your app. It's the app name, it's the product, it's the publisher ID, it's the keywords, it's the full description. Therefore, if you're running campaigns on popular keywords, make sure to include them in your metadata. Whilst, for example, if you're a banking app and you decide to run an ad on the keyword pizza delivery just because it's super popular, yes, you will receive some impressions and even maybe some conversions, but they would be significantly more expensive. I'm not saying that you have to include pizza in the description of your banking app, but just to make sure to maintain some common sense. And if you, for example, if you're like our email application, we have we support several different services in our app, and therefore we need to make sure we include all of them in our text metadata. Then another point about running Apple search ads is to run creative sets experiments. We've run several of them, and the way you can do them is you have the ability to upload up to 10 screenshots on the App Store, and no one really looks past maybe the 4th or 5th one, and that's why you can use the rest to adapt your search ads and to use them in order to increase the conversion rate. For example, in the case with myMail or an email application, you can have several screenshots about exactly that specific service, for example, Hotmail, and then you include that screenshot among your creative sets. For a specific ad group, you have to create a separate ad group. And then the users will be more inclined to download your app based on that view. And then I give the word to my colleague who would talk about KPIs specific about apps.
Oh, we just have one more case, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I forgot about a case. I mean, it is late here. A case to illustrate how we're working with search for paid campaigns with one of our biggest taxi apps here in Russia, Citymobil. Might be obvious, even if you don't speak Russian, that we had a screenshot specific about the Halloween promotion, and we've included specific promo codes. And here we're comparing the results with a similar campaign, but where we haven't supported the promotion on the app page. And this time when we have supported it, we've seen an increase in the conversion rates for the campaigns in both Google Play and App Store. They were quite significant, up to 7.7%, but we've also seen an increase in search and in the conversion rate for the app. So definitely use that ideas for seasonal promotions, do include that in your app page. And now I give the word to my colleague, Anne.
Thank you. And to sum it up, we want to talk about the main KPIs for apps on App Store and Google Play. And let's have a look at the App Store. And first of all, we look at our keywords rankings because this metric can help us to measure if our keywords update was successful or not. Secondly, we also track our search installs by country. It can help us to understand how our visual assets and our keywords updates perform. And the next KPI is really important, especially for visual assets optimization. It is our search page conversion. We also take care about our reviews and ratings because they can impact on our product page and search page conversion. It is totally important for new apps because if you don't have this strong brand name, users always pay attention to your ratings, and then they read reviews because they can help them to make decision to download your app or not. So I can say that for new apps, reviews and ratings is something like a crucial KPI. The next one is the conversion rate of web and app referrals. There are KPIs for user acquisition, and as actually, this KPI is more important for big apps with strong brand names and large advertising campaigns. And as Julia has already mentioned, it is really important to display your value proposition from user acquisition on your product page, and your ad communication should always correlate with the communication on your product page. So this singular message that align through the user funnel can strengthen your messaging and can help you to increase conversion rate of paid traffic. And the last one, KPI, is our search ads conversion rate. You can increase it by running different experiments with creative sets and by highlighting different most popular top grossing search terms in your visual assets. It can help you to increase your conversion rate and to make your cost per tap a little bit cheaper. And moving on to Google Play KPIs, first of all, as for the App Store, we always track our keywords rankings. It can help us to understand if our update was successful and to measure the effectiveness of visual assets updates. We track conversion rate of search traffic by country and conversion rate by keywords if we highlighted this keyword in our visual assets. We also look at total organic installs by country to measure the effectiveness of ASO optimization in each market. And as for the App Store, we take care about reviews and ratings and look at conversion rate of paid traffic for big projects with large advertising campaigns. And now I will pass on the word to David, and he will share with us a little summary.
Thank you, Anna. So, well, that's it for today, and I hope you liked our webinar. And now to sum up everything that we have mentioned today, let's read these 5 points. So first of all, determine the most effective organic traffic and sources. So whether you are a game or an app, analyze your traffic channels and try to find the most effective and work on them first of all. The second thing is to consider the differences between games and apps optimization. So we've talked about differences a lot today, so I hope you can find some interesting cases for you. And the third thing is to track the right KPIs and metrics to measure your statistics, your download statistics, your revenue statistics, and if everything is okay, so this will be a great result. But if something went wrong, you can adjust your strategy, and that's why you should track these metrics, these important KPIs every day, if it's possible for you, of course. So the next thing is that you should test different approaches and cases, and don't forget about ASO as iterative process. So try to test something as much as possible, different approaches in text metadata, in graphic assets, search different cases of your competitors and try to use some of them in your apps and games. So this will can give you a great impact in your organic downloads from different channels. And of course, follow our optimization tips. So I think they will help you to drive your apps and games and get a lot of organic traffic. So thank you everyone for joining us. So now we have a Q&A time. So you can write your questions in our YouTube channel chat. And while you are doing it, so I want to mention some more about our Black Friday deals. So you can get now any Checkaso plan for a year with up to 25% off until 6th of December. So follow the link in the description of this translation on YouTube and try our new features, our new tools. And now let's move to our YouTube channel and find something interesting, some interesting questions. So the first, how to send an application for featuring App Store, how to send. So you can fill the form. Both Google Play and the App Store has special forms. You can fill it and send all the information about your app and try to get a featuring. They will answer you maybe in a week, maybe in 2-3 weeks, or sometimes it will take a month maybe. So this is the surest way to get featuring if you are not a big player, you are not a big game or app. So the next question I heard, after updating the description of screenshots in Google Play, organics can be downgraded. What if I added new features? How do I add it to the description? So if girls, do you want to answer this question or I can do it?
I think you can do it first, and then we can add something.
Okay, after updating the description, screenshot Google Play Organic can be downgraded. So it depends on your app first of all. So I think it could be because of your maybe internal metrics or maybe your ratings, or maybe the average rating of your app. So try to add new features, try to ask your users, your user base to rate your app and game, because the most impact is the about the last version of your app. So also, as we mentioned, try to make your what's new section interesting to attract new users and retain the old users. So the next question, can you please tell more about platform regulation regarding the featuring? Are there any common mistakes I should look out for?
From our experience, we actually have an entire separate team that works with featuring applications and developing a relationship with the platforms, which is also very important if you do have the ability to reach out personally to the Google Play and the App Store country managers in your country. But if you can't do that, then one of the very common mistakes when applying for featuring on Google Play specifically is to not include screenshots of the gameplay of the game. There, the platform is quite serious, because sometimes we do very marketing oriented screenshots where, you know, the message could use up to 50% of the space of the screenshot, and the platform, when they feature an app, they want to see the actual gameplay of the game. In terms of the App Store, you can send in a story to be able to be featured in the coveted today page. And whilst you can apply, the platforms themselves, they also are on the lookout for one of the best performing games on the App Store. And for them, a positive signal is when you maintain a cohesive design, whether in your app page. So they want something beautiful to be able to display their very sort of design oriented. They also look whether you support the latest technology, whether it's the latest iOS features or some new shortcuts. They're very pro that. Also, they are positive about having in-app promoted in-app purchase in your app page, because of course they're also interested in the business gain that they can potentially get when they feature your app. And also about positive ratings and reviews, whether you talk to the user. So make sure they look out if the developer replies to the reviews left. So do talk to your user back. That's also a positive highlight for the apps and games. And if maybe David has something to add.
No, this is quite full answer, I think. Thank you. Thanks. So let's move to another question. So thank you. The holiday season is coming. So what would you recommend to track competitors' seasonal activities? So I recommend to track the first is graphic metadata. So we have also a great tool on our platform. It's called comparative analysis. So you can track your competitors' update during the time and try to find some interesting. The other things, you should track the internal gaming process of some new features, maybe for holidays, because not everyone just update their screenshot. They can use different cases, different promotion methods, different sales, and so on. So I think first of all, you should track the graphic assets, and if you see something interesting, download the app or game and try to find something interesting in the game, in the gameplay interface. So do you have something to add, maybe?
I think you should also track seasonal keywords, maybe some seasonal keywords like Christmas games and so on, especially if you have internal, for example, gaming events for Christmas, because our competitors often updating graphic, but forget about keywords, and this popularity increased before the holidays, and you can use it possibility to increase your download data. So always check seasonal keywords and add them to your metadata.
Thank you. So next question, a common concern about among ASO specialists is how to pick locales for localization. Are there any countries you always localize your games for? So, well, I don't think there is a right answer in every situation. So it depends on your app or game. If you want to track, first of all, the country that you live, for example, I live in Russia. I made an app or game in Russian language. So first of all, I should choose the locales, that countries that use Russian language. But if you are a big player, for example, you have lots of money for paid channels, for example, and user acquisition. So I think it's better to look at Tier 1 countries, Europe, United States, for example. So do you have something to add?
Yes, we can add that generally speaking, it's good to not just to localize your app page, but to also, if your actual game or app is localized in that language, because There's one way where you can test, for example, if you're converting users from that country, from that language to your app, but then the users, they might actually not stay in your app because, for example, your store page is localized in Japanese, but your game is English, and then they might drop out and they might not stay in your app. So make sure to actually look out for that. Generally speaking, the top languages to focus on are the fixed languages, so French, Italian, German, and Spanish. Then, well, apart from English, then it's good to follow into the Brazil, as it's quite a big market. So Portuguese, and then you can start touching up on the Asian languages such as Japanese, Korean, and Chinese. That is like the general flow. Then you can also, because there are more languages available to be localized in Google, so you can use those as additional localizations to support your main localizations. So for example, using something that the user never sees and supporting that your central localization, such as, for example, English or French. That is kind of the feedback from us.
Well, thank you. The next question, thank you. I have one question related to ASO of mobile games. Are there any best practices for games visual optimization? Should I copy my competitors or try to stand out? So it's a good question. I think I can say that first of all, you should spy on your competitors, of course, and try to find something interesting they are testing, and maybe this will help you to optimize your mobile game visual sets. But don't just copy your competitors. It's I think the most important thing I want to say, because a lot of game developers just copy their competitors and they hope to get a lot of organic traffic, but it doesn't work this way. It depends on different things. It depends on your user base, your retention, your conversion, and a lot of things. So something to add, girls?
No.
Okay.
Let's move on to the next question. How much we really on external traffic sources? Do you have any list in Checkaso blog? And from the Harry, another question is, hi Anna, I got not much good traffic from AdWords. I put main keywords in AdWords to target users, but uninstall rate is too high. The new users, the new installs, sorry. So the question is about Google AdWords.
I think maybe we can help with Google AdWords and with conversion by each keyword, but our point was about communication. So if you're running different Google AdWords campaigns and you have the same messaging on your product page, it can affect your conversion rate and it can help you to increase it, because you show your users one value proposition, and then and when they see it on a product page, they download it because they see what you offer them in advertising. So it is really important in increasing conversion to support this communication on product page.
Thank you. The next question, is it true that Google understands description on screenshots then consist of 1 or 2 words? So a lot of people say that it works. So we tested several times and it worked, but we don't even know from Google. So they don't say that it works in 100%. So I think you can just test it and try to find out the answer for your project, for your app or game.
Yeah, we also had successful tests because we have one game that didn't rank for the app name, and then we added this app name on the screenshot. They started to rank, so we can say that it works.
So great. The last question for today, I think. Have you explored the promotional text field in App Store and its impact on conversion? Is it appears before your optimized short description? It is a risk to use it. So we didn't explore it, so I can't even say. But I think the main plus for these promotional text is that you can update it before updating your app. So you don't need to make a new update of the whole app in App Store. You just can update the promotional text and write something. If you, for example, if you have some events or maybe on holidays and you don't want to update the whole app, so you can use only promotional text for your marketing.
From our experience, the results were so insignificant. Even if there is to be something, it's unnoticeable almost in the overall statistics. There are things that impact the conversion rate in much bigger ways. So in terms of maybe just if you have the resources to update it, then update it, but it's not something critical or essential.
Yeah, that's true. So one more question. Hi, does using H2 tags or emojis in short description, long description helps in ASO? As we know, it only works in Google Play. So in Apple App Store, you can't use emojis and text, but it can only increase your conversion rate, but not your indexing or ranking by keywords.
Conversion rate, definitely.
Yeah.
Like we've noticed, we did so many experiments on using specifically emojis in the descriptions, and users do really enjoy them. But you have to run experiments because some countries, they might be more, so to say, strict in a way, but some like the sort of playful language that you have.
Yeah, it depends on your app. For example, if you have a banking or financial app, I think it's not a good idea to use a lot of emojis because it won't increase your conversion, I think. So it depends on your project, first of all, on your game or app. So thank you. Well, I think that's it for today. So thank you, Julia, Anna, for joining us today, and thanks everyone who watched us today. It was really interesting, I hope, for you. So see you the next time and have a good day. So goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.